What is up, everyone? It is AG Reviews. We're back at it again. This is the 10th episode of the Scene and Screen podcast. My name is Alan. I'm here today to, talk about some movies and some movie news and news in general in the entertainment sphere. Um, YouTube seems to be working. I don't know what was going on there for a little bit. Right before I went live, I'm like, oh, of course, this is not working the way that it should, but looks like everything is good and back to normal, back to business as usual. So yes, hello everyone. Normally I do this show on Tuesday, but today I'm doing it on Wednesday. Kind of competing with my other show, Console Creators, which trying to get off before they start. Maybe not before they start, but not too long into their show. Um, so we're doing a special episode this week on Wednesday rather than Tuesday, just because yesterday I was lucky enough to go to a early screening of Black Phone 2, which is one of my most anticipated films of the year. I was very much a big fan of that first film. Loved the performances, loved the vibe that it brought. I think Scott Derrickson is always incredible when it comes to horror. When they first announced that there was going to be a sequel to Black Phone, I think I was a little bit skeptical. Like most people, I kind of didn't really understand why they were going for a sequel or why they wanted to do a sequel. That first film was such a focused story and felt like such a definitive end to all the characters in the film, and just felt like it was such a neatly wrapped bow by the end of that film that I was very skeptical in the lead up to this movie. I didn't feel like it was very necessary, and the trailers came out. They kind of gave us an idea of what this movie is going to be, and it's definitely taking some very heavy influences from Nightmare on Elm Street, which us Freddy fans have been starved for the past 15 years. So I had a lot of excitement after seeing that trailer and kind of getting the idea of what this movie was going to be. So I went in to this film very excited. I was very much looking forward to what they were going to offer here in this sequel. And after seeing the film yesterday, I have to say I am a little bit mixed. I would say probably more mixed positive. I think overall I did enjoy the film, but there was definitely some things about it that kind of bugged me, and I also felt like it kind of still rang true that I felt like the sequel was pretty unnecessary and didn't really justify its existence all that much. Even though I would say overall, I did have a pretty good time with the movie and I enjoyed my time. Definitely not on the level of the first. But right off rip, I'm just going to start with my positives. And right at the beginning, I think the direction from Scott Derrickson here is just right front and center. The set pieces that they create here with Alpine Lake and kind of the visual style that he implements in this film, I thought were fantastic. Obviously, it's no secret, a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street inspiration here. So there are dream sequences in this film where we get into like a dream state, and I felt like the visual style that Scott Derrickson decided to go with when it came to those scenes was really, really well done. It looked incredible. It did like a switch. Like it's hard. I don't, want to spoil what it looked like exactly, but it did a switch when you were in the dream sequence. So it was like you knew, right? It was like you knew that you were in a dream. And visually, I thought like that was very well done. I have seen other people who got to see it early who kind of complained about their theater projection and everything. I don't think mine had a problem because I thought those scenes looked great. I know how some of the big chains nowadays are getting pretty bad with their lighting and the projection that they're putting up in the movie theater. So, but for me, I didn't have that problem. I feel like the I was at a Cinemark and that theater was pretty well lit, and I was able to tell, and it looked great. Like I said, when they go back and forth between dream sequences and the real world, I felt like it looked visually great and was a great way to kind of bring you into that dream state. in that dream world. Obviously, changing it up as well, with the setting at Alpine Lake in a very snow heavy area kind of added um, a different type of suspense than what we got in that first film, with it being like in a small community like it was. I thought that was great to kind of switch that up there. And obviously, too, this movie leans way more into the supernatural than the first one did. And those aspects of it, and kind of like the Nightmare on Elm Street influences that this film had, I think are the strongest aspect of it. I think that's what really works about this film, when it's in that new realm and going straight into the supernatural. I think that is what really works about this film. It was very strong with it. Obviously, the performances, got to talk about those. Everyone all around is great. Madeline McGraw as Gwen, fantastic again. She had multiple, zingers in this film, like she did the first time, and she was kind of upgraded to lead role here, if I'm being honest. Finney, obviously was the lead in the first one, but in this one, it's more Gwen's story, and it's not really a spoiler if you've seen the first film. The reason for that is because she is essentially the only one, that can see like that dream state world. It's really just her. So you kind of had to put her front and center. There was really no way around it, with bringing the grabber back after obviously he met his demise in the first film. So, she had to be the lead, but I really felt like she handled it well. I think they did a great job at establishing both characters can hold their own in the first film, that when they had to make the switch and had Gwen be the lead over Finney, I felt like it worked really, really well. And she did a great job. Finney did a great job too. I think his character arc here was really great. They have him obviously dealing with the trauma and everything that happened in part one. It's like, yeah, Gwen was involved in that, but she didn't go through what Finney went through. So, him dealing with the trauma and the grief and everything that happened in that first film. And the character, I don't want to spoil anything, but the character switch that they kind of gave him like right off rip, kind of put a smile on my face, because it calls back to the first a little bit, and, other aspects of that film. Like I said, I don't want to spoil anything, but it calls back to the first film like right away in a way I wasn't expecting, and one that put a smile on my face. So I really liked the character work and what they did here with both of these characters. And then obviously Ethan Hawke as the grabber. It's a different performance this time around, obviously, because he's dead and a ghost. So it's not the same performance that we got in that first film. But I still felt like he was great. He was a little like he wasn't there as much, right? Because he was dead. So, you didn't have him as much as you did before. Sorry about that, guys. Hold on one second. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so like I was saying with the grabber and Ethan Hawke, I felt like he was great. A little bit, he wasn't as front and center as he was the first time. I know, like I rewatched the first one. I want to say for the first time since I saw the original. The same day when I found out I was going to see it, I wanted to kind of watch it so it was fresh in my mind. And he wasn't revealed. Like you didn't even see him really until like halfway through the movie almost. But I feel like that back half, you got so much of him that it did feel like a little bit of a step back here. And like I said, with the limitations of Gwen being the only one that can, see him and deal with him in this film, kind of limited how much screen time, truthfully, that you could have. Yeah. So, and then too, I felt like, sorry, I'm just trying to look at my notes here. They did add some new lore, obviously, to this universe. They did add some things, that take us back and kind of connect to some events in the past. Obviously, it was it was hinted at in the trailers. that there was some, history with Alpine Lake and the grabber, and that's explored here. And for a majority of it, I thought that was interesting. I thought that they did some clever stuff there. There's one thing about it I don't like, and I can't really talk about it specifically, but we'll get into it in a minute in my negatives. But I felt like the lore that they added here mostly worked, and they mostly did some good things with it. I also felt like, obviously, I talked about the visual style. This obviously has some very Nightmare on Elm Street influences. And like I said before, as somebody who has been starving for Nightmare on Elm Street and wanting a Nightmare on Elm Street movie for so long, this kind of gives you your fix on that, right? Now, he's not exactly Freddy. There are certain things that are different when it comes to the rules. And obviously, the grabber as a character, he's not wholeheartedly different from the first film. So for me, it was enough of it, but it didn't feel like an exact copy of Freddy. Definitely some similarities. I don't know if everyone is going to love how many similarities there were. But for me, the Nightmare on Elm Street influences and the whole supernatural side of this movie was what worked best for me and what I enjoyed. So there's a lot of positives that I like about this film. Like I said, overall, I did enjoy the film. But there is some stuff that didn't work for me, that we can now start to get into. And I talked about it before, when I was talking about the positives, but there is a lot of lore that is introduced here. A lot of it I liked. A lot of it I felt like helped with the tension, the suspense, and the world building. There is one in particular, and one piece of information and lore that they give you that, if I'm being honest, kind of a little bit for me ruins some of the first movie. And to me, gets to the point where we're adding so much lore in that it starts to be too much, and it makes the world feel really, really small. And that's not what I liked about the first film. The first film was very much a self-contained story about a guy who was kidnapping and killing kids, and it could be anyone. There was no, rhyme or reason as to what he was doing. And here, when you kind of start to get some backstory on the grabber, and there's certain connections that happen, you tend to make the world feel small. And one in particular, I felt like that tied back into the first film that I just didn't like. I didn't think we needed that. And it made the stakes, it kind of took them away, even though I feel like, the stakes were bigger, and this movie went bigger and bolder and wanted to be, that typical sequel that takes it to the next level. By doing this one thing, that I don't want to spoil and I can't talk about because the movie's not even out yet. By doing this one thing, it pulled all that back for me. It made it to where it felt small. It negatively impacts. I think it kind of hurts the first movie a little more too, when this thing and you're like, well, wait a minute. How did that happen then in the first movie? So it was very, it's really hard to explain without going into spoilers, but that part of it, some of the lore they explore here just did not work for me whatsoever. And then some of the characters in the film, I don't think really worked. A lot of the camp, like the Alpine Lake characters, were very one note, didn't really have any arcs. There's a character here that goes to Alpine Lake with Finney and Gwen. And, I don't know what's been revealed really in the marketing, so I don't want to speak on who that person is. But when they go, I liked their arc, and I liked, their relationship with those two characters and their dynamic. I thought that worked really well. But the characters at Alpine Lake, kind of specifically like the main guy, or not the main guy, I'm sorry. So the main guy at Alpine Lake, who's like running everything here, I felt like he was good. He was kind of there only just to like exposition dump and give us some of that lore and some of that backstory. The other characters, it was like the older couple, and then Mustang, I think was her name. I can't remember exactly. I don't know if that was the guy's daughter or not. I didn't really pick up on that or care about it, to be honest. So the character work with the other people outside of the main characters didn't really work for me as much as I would have liked. I did feel like the pacing of this film was a little bit off, and it kind of goes into my final point and my final thing that didn't work for this movie. Is it really doesn't justify its own existence. I don't really think that you watch this movie. Yeah, you can have a good time with it, but I don't think I watched this movie and I went, yeah, we actually needed this film. In some ways, like I said about the stuff I didn't like, it kind of hurts the original film. I feel like, it would have been better off just not doing what we did here. So it doesn't justify its own existence. And I feel like that affected the pacing of the film too, because for the first 45 minutes to almost an hour, we're just kind of setting up the reason why we're here and why this movie exists. Whereas if it would have been, if this would have been a sequel to a movie where it felt like there could be more, you wouldn't have had to have done that. It would have been set up naturally. It's not set up naturally at the end of the first movie because that was a definitive end and a definitive story. So when you get to part two, they spend a lot of groundwork in that first 45 minutes to an hour almost, it felt like at least, setting up and pretty much explaining why we're here and trying to justify exactly what it is that we're doing here. So like I said, overall, I did like the film. I had a good time with it. A little bit mixed on it as a whole. There's a lot that I think works, but then there are other things that don't work, and some of the ones that don't work, really don't work. So, for me, overall, I'm positive on it, but it was a step down. It didn't work as well as that first film did. And I would definitely, if you're a fan of the first movie, definitely go out and see it. Definitely give it a try, right? Don't just, listen to some people who don't like it and then not see it for yourself. Give it a chance on your own. I think it's going to be divisive because I've seen, obviously, they've been doing, they played it at Fantastic Fest. They've been doing screenings for it. And I've seen some people say that they think it's better than the first. I'm not one of those people. But I understand the appeal of it. It is very different, right? It does take bold swings. It does try to do something different. It's not rehashing the plot of the first one whatsoever. So I think in that sense, then that's why some people are going to really enjoy it. But for me, just not. It was good, I had a good time with it. It's just when you compare it to the first, I can't say that this one's better or even on the level of the first one because it just wasn't. Like I said, overall enjoyed it, but a little disappointing. Definitely a step back for me. And so that's what I thought about Black Phone 2. I was very happy I got to see it early. It actually came together for me at the very last minute. It was a couple hours before the show started. I got emailed tickets for it, so it worked out right for me, and I was able to very quickly make it happen. So I was very happy for that. So, apologies, obviously, on having to delay the show a day. But, when I get an opportunity, I gotta take it if I can. So, all right, so let's move on. We're going to talk about Gen V Episode 6. And, hold on one second here. Get my notes. So Gen V Episode 6. I was on Darren's after the credits show on Monday, and, we had obviously went into grave detail about Gen V. So I'm not going to dive into it all that much. I'm kind of just going to recap what I thought. I thought I've been a big fan of season 2 so far. I feel like it's been a really, really good season. But overall, I thought this felt like kind of like that setup filler episode right before we get into the, final 2 episode stretch. Not a whole, a lot happens, but it just doesn't feel as impactful. It's all very quickly. I kind of talked about it on Darren's podcast. I feel like you can really feel where they had to take Andre's character out and kind of rework things. You felt that the most here. I feel like episode 1 and episode 6 are the 2 episodes where you really feel like Andre's character and presence missing. And where I feel like he probably had some important moments in both of these episodes. Obviously we start off in Elmira, and Cypher goes to kill Annabeth, Marie's sister, to kind of test Marie's limits, right? And see if she can make her level up essentially on that. And she ends up, he slits her throat, and then Marie ends up reviving her, kind of leveling up her powers yet again and proving that she is a very, very powerful soup. So that happens. Then as they're leaving, Annabeth, essentially her powers get revealed that she has like premonitions, but more times than not, they're wrong. So it's kind of only like 50-50 on whether or not her premonitions are actually going to work. She, does predict that Sam's going to come in and help them, which he ends up doing. So she was right there. So that's kind of the way that they reveal that she has powers. And her having powers, I don't really know. Like where that's going to, like what that's leading to. Like what is her having powers going to add to the story? I don't really know yet. Obviously, we don't know. I know there's an episode dropping here soon. I just don't think I'm going to be able to watch it today. So we'll obviously talk about it next week. But I'm hoping that there's some reason as to why Annabeth has powers. Because then the next scene, once they're like hiding out. They end up finding like a abandoned library or school. I can't remember exactly what it was. And Marie, Kate, Jordan, Emma, Annabeth, Sam, they're all there. And, they kind of, Annabeth and Marie get into an argument. And, even though I think it's justified, Annabeth is like very cruel to Marie and doesn't try, definitely makes it feel like it's her fault what's happened to her. With everything, not even just this predicament that they're currently in right now. Just the predicament now, what happened to their parents, like she does not hold back. And I guess that's where I'm confused on to what her having powers would add to the story. Because I feel like if that was the case, that would be, you would want to use something like that to make her understand Marie a little bit more. But they took the route of Annabeth like hating the fact that she's a soup and hating the fact that she has powers. So I thought that was a bold way, I guess you could say, to take the direction of the story. And then, obviously we end up, Cypher is just out here manipulating pretty much everyone. He manipulates polarity in order to find out their location. He ends up like taking control of him, and then I'm sorry, what's her name? Emma ends up calling him and stuff. So they find the location. They send in Vikor, which was like the big Viking guy from the episode, and he comes in and he is just like mollywhopping everybody in there. Even Sam, I was like, wow, Sam wasn't even giving him a good fight, and I thought Sam would definitely at least be the one to like help them out. But it makes sense because they're all getting their butt kicked, and then all of a sudden, Victoria Newman's daughter Zoe comes back, and she picks up Vigor and just does the snake things and gouges out his face and just ends him right there. Which I thought that was a great moment. Which then brings in the return of Stan Edgar, which Giancarlo Esposito, one of the best actors of today. So always getting to see him is always a good thing. He's great in the role as Stan Edgar. And yeah, anytime I see him on anything, I'm always excited to see him. So yeah, we kind of get that. He takes him to like an underground bunker. And he kind of explains Project Odessa, the similarities between Marie and Homelander. Where Marie tries to shut that shit down immediately. She's like, I'm nothing like Homelander, which like she's really not, right? Like maybe power scale wise she is, but when it comes to like what they use their powers for and who they are as people, couldn't be any more polar opposites. Marie and Homelander are nothing alike whatsoever. So he shuts that down. And Project Odessa essentially was a experiment created by Godolkin to create god tier soups that he can control. And it's kind of starting to add up. They don't necessarily confirm it, but like we all think that the old guy is Thomas Godolkin, and essentially maybe by extension Cypher is Thomas Godolkin. So that alone right there kind of confirms some suspicions that some of us have had. So it's fine with me. I enjoyed that part of it. I like it. And then, she kind of Stan Edgar gives her like a pitch to just stay under him stay safe, stay in the bunker. And she says no. And then the whole crew, everyone just heads out. Annabeth ends up going with her as well. So maybe there's some reconciliation that's happening there and everything. And that's where the episode ends. And so it wasn't a bad episode, but I just feel like there wasn't a whole lot of meat on the bone here compared to previous episodes that we've gotten. And then, like I said, I feel like the Elmira sequence, just in general, like them being in Elmira, I think there was supposed to be like a first 4 episode situation where they were in Elmira. And obviously with Andre, I can't remember the guy's name. Chase, what's his name? I can't remember. But Andre, obviously, him passing obviously put some, I think, wrenches into the plot and like where this season was going. And you could feel it in this episode. And I feel like that's why it kind of feels like not a whole lot happened. Because they get put in Elmira and then they're very quickly out. It's like, okay, they keep harping about Elmira, but I think there was supposed to be a sequence in the beginning of the show that got cut. And then I think there was supposed to be, maybe it was, like I said, I think it was supposed to just be like the first half of the show they were in Elmira, and all these events were supposed to happen, but because of him not being there, they couldn't start in Elmira, so then they kind of had to bring it back here and do something here. Like there was I talked about it on Monday, there was a scene with Kate and Emma in Elmira talking, and I really felt like it was ADR. Like I went back and watched it, and like there's moments where they're not even looking at the screen, but you still hear their voices. So I feel like that there was a lot here that had to get shuffled around. And again, it's no fault of their own. I don't blame them. It is what it is. We couldn't do anything. The actor died, but yeah. So far I'm very much enjoying this season. I am very happy with it so far. I'm very excited to see where the last 2 episodes go. And I'm very curious to see where these characters go in The Boys season 5, because I definitely feel like they're going to have some type of impact. I don't think it'll be too big. I think we're still going to focus on those original characters, but I definitely feel like the characters from Gen V are going to have some importance here. So, very much looking forward to these last 2 episodes and seeing how it all wraps up. Okay, guys, let's move on here. We're gonna go on to Peacemaker, the Peacemaker season finale. No controversy whatsoever with this finale. No one complaining, nothing like that. So I'll start off. Again, I talked about it before. Wasn't a huge fan of this finale, and it was because I think the whole structure of the show as a whole, I really felt like, the first 7 episodes were kind of meandering a bit. Not a whole lot was happening in some of those episodes, even though I was thoroughly entertained. Not a whole lot was happening. And then I feel like we get to episode 8 here, and we just like rushed through a bunch of stuff. I mean, like Chris, at the beginning of this episode, he's in jail. He gets out. He doesn't want to be around the 11th Street kids. He doesn't want to be with anyone because he feels like the angel of death. That gets resolved. He ends up finally getting with Harcourt. We have all the stuff going on with Argus and Rick Sr., and there's no external threat for this season. I think that's my whole problem, is that the most interesting aspect of this season was the Earth X storyline and everything that was going on Earth X, but we didn't really actually get like an external confrontation or an external conclusion on that stuff. It was like, okay, we find out that this is Nazi world, and for Chris to really, like, I thought maybe on an arc to like prove that he's a hero again, we're going to take down Nazi world people, or something, and that just didn't happen. And in this finale, we deal with a lot of internal resolution and character arcs for the characters, and that's kind of the focus, and that's fine. And again, I like that. I didn't think it was bad. It was all very well acted. I felt like I don't remember her name, but the girl who plays Ads, she was great in that scene where she was talking to Chris, very emotional. I was very happy to finally see Chris and Harcourt finally come together and embrace each other, and especially on her side, admit the love that she has for Chris. That was all great, and I really did enjoy it. It's just that, there was no actual like external villain, and not one either that was like trying to cause an urgency in anything. Like, yeah, Rick Sr. and Argus were essentially the villains, but like we spent like 5 episodes of them trying to break into Chris's house and steal the portal. Like, that wasn't, I don't know, it just didn't feel like we're on a time crunch here and we really got to like do this before the bad guys get us or anything like that. It was just a very weird way for the season to play out. Overall, the season I think was entertaining, but the way that it was paced and the way that it was structured just felt really strange, and I just don't know. It was just a weird one, and the ending, again, I didn't hate the episode, but it just felt a little underwhelming and a little disappointing and rushed. Like, we went through way too much just in one episode. I don't think James Gunn's comments, and I talked about this on Monday with Darren and Taz, like James Gunn's comments to me about this like stretch of episodes 6 to 8 really did himself no favors. I mean, yeah, people are like, well, there was the Lex cameo in episode 6, and I'm like, yeah, I get that, but he said 6 through 8 are some of the best things that he's ever done. Dude, come on. No, it's not. Maybe on a personal level for you, but when you come out and say stuff like that, you're setting an expectation. You made comments about how Blue Beetle might show up in Peacemaker and how we're going to get all this crazy stuff and the setup of the DCU. And like, yeah, the whole Salvation thing with, Chris being exiled was a setup, but it was literally like a post-credit scene, basically. It didn't actually have any impact from what was going on in the season. Like, the end of the season felt like when they're all checkmate and they're all at the building and they're all together and they're all embracing one another as a group and as a family. That felt like the ending. And then you have this post-credit scene, and, I'm in the know, right? We're all in the know. Anyone who's watching the show probably, like, we know what these storylines are leading to. The average person doesn't know that. So when you're out here saying, oh, you need to watch Superman to understand this film, not really. You don't really need to watch Superman to understand what's going on in Peacemaker. There's really not a whole lot that's going on in Peacemaker that, like, they're like, what Argus is chasing after him for was set up from Superman, but like, you don't need to watch that to know and understand what's happening. And, he's made comments too about doing homework and everything like that, but I don't know. I feel like James Gunn in general talks out of his mouth way too much, way too often. And I just wish he would kind of just take a step back, not reveal so much and not be as transparent, be the producer before being the writer and the director, and just do a little better with managing expectations. That's all. Again, this wasn't a terrible finale, but it was a wonky season in my opinion. It kind of was all over the place. But I just want to see James Gunn not shoot himself in the foot as much with some of his comments that he makes. And that's not an indication of like the quality of this episode, but it's I think why the expectations were where they were is because he just says things that put the wrong expectation on stuff. And he's done that for a while. It's not even like this is an exclusively DC thing, but when you're the head of the studio, it's a little bit harder to not take those words and not place expectations that are pretty high on your product. So that was pretty much, what I thought about the episode as a whole. Now, when it comes to like the DCU future, I am still like, I need to see something different, not something that's written and directed by James Gunn. I need to see something like Lanterns, like Supergirl, where it's somebody else at the helm and he's kind of just playing the producer and taking a step back and controlling from behind the scenes and not directly in front of the camera, to really know if this universe is going to work. I don't think we're off to a bad start. I really don't. But I just wonder with these 3 projects, Creatures Commando, Superman, Peacemaker Season 2, it's like, was he doing too much? Was there a little bit of fatigue? Was there a little bit of burnout? It felt like it just a little bit to me. So I'm very curious to see what this universe looks like with other people at the helm of the project and James Gunn actually playing that CEO producer role rather than writer director and what seems like overworking himself, because that's the vibe I get here from these 3 projects is that's what he did. So like I said, talked about that on Monday, both Gen V and Peacemaker over on Darren's channel. I did post the link to it on my page, so you can go over and then go watch that, where we went way more in depth than I'm going in here today. I just didn't want to spend another, almost 2 hours talking about it again when I've already kind of done that. But so go watch that video, and then we'll kind of move on here. Next up is going to be the Tron box office. We're going to go ahead and talk about that. I am going to be 100% honest and transparent with you guys right now. Tron is not my favorite series out there. I'm not somebody who enjoys Tron. I saw the original and Tron Legacy almost back to back. When Legacy first came out back in 2010, I was only 15 at the time. So, for me, when I don't see a movie for so many years, it kind of feels like I'm rewatching it again. And I wanted to watch Legacy last week to kind of get in the mood, because I knew that one. If I'm going to like any of the Tron movies, it's probably going to be Legacy. I saw Tron when I was younger, and I didn't like it. It was really outdated then, really outdated now. And, if we're being honest, these movies have never been substance to them. It's more style over substance with these films. They're not known for their plots. They're known for their, groundbreaking effects and CGI and stuff like that. So, not a huge fan of this franchise, I'll be honest with you. I couldn't even get through Tron Legacy watching it again. I'll be honest with you. So once that happened, I was like, I really don't want to see Tron Ares just because it's not my thing. This is not my franchise. It's not something I've ever been like a huge fan of. I don't like Jared Leto. I'll be honest there. Jared Leto is not my favorite actor out there, as he's not a favorite of many people nowadays, it seems like. But the box office reports have come out essentially for the film, and on the film's domestic opening day, which I believe is Friday, it only earned $14.3 million in that opening day, which is lower than Morbius, which is also a box office bomb by Jared Leto. And that's bad. It's very, very bad. I don't know what the budget was for the film. I should look that up. But we're not even close to getting near that. I mean, it's bad. That is a box office bomb if I've seen one. Let's see the budget. $180 million budget. That's insane. It says, I think it was domestically, it only did 33.5. Let's see if I can get the definitive numbers on that. I probably should have had this up before I start talking about it. But it did not do good, guys. It bombed very, very much. And let's look at the box office. Let's check box office mojo. $66 million worldwide on a $180 million budget. Guys, that's a disaster. That's terrible. And now, because that happened, I believe it was reported today that Disney is likely to retire the franchise, which more than likely means we're going to get at least 15 years before another movie happens again. And even though this franchise is not for me, I know that this franchise has a very passionate fan base. So I hate to see that. I don't want to see a franchise get shelved like that when, it has potential. It could be better. And it's not. And, I've heard mixed things about Tron Ares. I've heard some people say they really love it. I've heard others say that, no, this thing was a disaster and everything like that. But I don't like seeing movies fail like this. And then, it is a little weird to me, even though it was obviously a very bad opening weekend. It's a little weird that they came out and already confirmed it like the next week. That to me was very odd. You don't let it have its run. You don't let it hit VOD. And see it, because Legacy was not well received either when it came out. Again, I'm not someone who enjoyed it, but there are a lot of people now who really do like that film, but it was not well received when it first came out. So, and that's kind of like a staple of this franchise from what I can tell, is that like when it first comes out, it doesn't get the traction that it usually does later on. Right. So a little disappointing to hear. I don't know what it was. It could have been the fact they cast Jared Leto. The marketing was a little weird. Like, none of the trailers really got me. As someone who's not a fan of this franchise and just a casual viewer of it, I've only seen it a handful of times. Nothing about the trailers or the marketing really captured me and my imagination and made me want to go see this film. So I don't know. It sucks. I hate to see it for the people who do like this franchise. I don't like seeing franchises like this get destroyed. But it is what it is. They could have handled it a little better, and I don't think they did. So that's pretty much all I got to say on that, because I haven't seen the movie actually, so I can't really comment on what I think the quality of the film is, but I just find it fascinating that it underperformed the way that it did, and they basically already canceled the series at this point, at least for like the immediate future. Eventually we'll probably get another movie, but for now it looks like it's going to be on the shelf. So yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on. So Sam Raimi is going to have a new horror film coming out soon, and they released the trailer. And I am going to change up what I do usually on this show, and I am going to react to the trailer live. I have not seen it. I know it came out, I think, either yesterday or the day before. But I'm going to watch the trailer, and you guys are going to get my reaction, and then I'm going to talk about what I thought. I will say right off rip, I'm very excited for another like horror style movie from Sam Raimi. He's obviously got some great films in his filmography, so I am happy that he's returning to this genre because I'm a huge horror guy. So let me get this pulled up here real quick, and then we will go ahead and watch the trailer. Let's pull that back. Let's get this bad boy over. All right, and let's go ahead. We're going to play the trailer. I'm going to react here, and we'll see what we're getting here. I don't know anything about this movie. I know nothing. So you're getting my first raw reaction about what I think about this. So let's press play and watch this bad boy.
I'm going to be frank with you. You are smart. I know that you are great with numbers, but I just don't think you got it. As an executive, I see no value in you. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, what?
We've all been there.
You know we have the Bangkok merger coming up. Prove me wrong. Oh, Linda, before you go, I forgot to mention I've received a few complaints about you.
Complaints?
Noxious odors.
Oh, God.
Kind of did look a little musty.
Take your seats, you're a little bitch.
Shit. Castaway? Is that what we're doing here?
Look who's joined the land of the living.
How long?
You been out? Day and a half?
Have you tried making a distress signal?
Or a bigger fire?
I was busy trying to keep us alive.
But getting us out of here, that should be your focus, not being Susie Homemaker over here.
What did you just say to me?
Let's not forget, I'm your boss. You work for me.
We're not in the office anymore, Bradley.
Say, not if y'all die. She don't work for your ass.
No help is coming. You just have to accept that this is how things are now. You're Hunt. I think I like it. You are stuck with an asshole boss. Just like I was. Although I'm betting I am a much nicer boss than you ever would have been. Except for maybe this part. I don't think we should ever leave.
Okay. That looks fun. That looks like it could definitely be some fun. Like I said, big guy, big fan of Sam Raimi when he's in the horror realm. Obviously, I love Rachel McAdams. I think she always gives a great performance in any film she's in. I can't recall her being in a horror movie off the top of my head. I mean, I think the closest thing I would assume is Red Eye, right? With the one with Cillian Murphy where she's up in the plane with him. Yeah, that looks good. Definitely a very unique concept. I would definitely, previous bosses, maybe not my current one, right? But, other bosses, maybe I would get them out of there real quick to live on my own. So yeah, that looks good. I think I'm down for that. When does that come out? So they put the release date on that? Yes, January 30th. Okay, so not the best sign, right? January movies, horror movies in January tend to not be great. We did get Companion last year though, so that seemed to have broken the cursed January time slot with horror. Although I think there was another like Blumhouse movie that came out also that month that was equally as bad as January horror movies are. So yeah, no, that looks good. I think that could be a lot of fun. Kind of like a Castaway vibe going, and with Sam Raimi back at the director's chair, and Rachel McAdams, Dylan O'Brien. Haven't seen him in a lot. I think he was in those Maze Runner movies, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not too familiar with him. He seems to be playing a kind of charismatic psycho boss, right? And we're going to see how it plays out. That looks like a fun time, and I am definitely looking forward to it. I will definitely be checking that one out for sure. All right, so let's move on. We got some New York Comic-Con updates, and we're going to go back over here to my Twitter because I bookmarked a bunch of these tweets. So we're going to kind of go through here. So we got Vision Quest announcements, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Daredevil Born Again, Invincible, we'll get into that. This one I want to talk about too for sure. Let's see. Yeah. So we'll kind of talk about it right off rip. So we'll do, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Daredevil's returning. I'll be honest with you guys. I did not watch the first season. It's on my list. I definitely need to watch it. He's going to return in it. Venom is also in it as well. Let me see. They kind of include the picture as well. Post this one. Sorry, guys. I'm learning how to do this screen sharing stuff, so please bear with me. I'm sorry. Venom is... Oh, that's not a picture. That is actually the Tom Hardy version. Venom will be in it as well. I know that people are theorizing that essentially it's probably not going to be Eddie Brock because the show has, changed certain characters and their origins and stuff like that. So I'm kind of, curious to see how they do that and how that works. I will say, I've heard good things about it. I think the animation style is pretty good. So they just announced that season 2 is coming. I don't really know when that's going to be coming out, but very excited. I will catch up on season 1 before then. So let's move on. We're going to talk about Daredevil Born Again, and I'll bring this tweet up here. I am so excited for Daredevil Born Again season 2. That first season was good. I think it left a lot to be desired with all of the, inconsistencies that they had, when it came to the tale of two halves that the season was, where it had the first creative team that was like not acknowledging the Netflix series, and then the other team came in and kind of bookended the season and edited a lot of those episodes that they had already filmed. So I'm very excited for season 2 to kind of see, what it's gonna look like. Can we get back to the level of that Netflix series? Because to me, that Netflix series is like the absolute peak of what we got with Daredevil. I mean, seasons 1 and 3 to me are masterpieces. Season 2 was a little messier, but it was still very great. Obviously, the introduction of Punisher was incredible. I loved the Punisher series as well. Wasn't as high on the Defender series, I'll be honest with you. I did love Jessica Jones season 1. Like, Jessica Jones season 1 is on par with those seasons of Daredevil and Punisher to me. I absolutely love that season. Much more than I ever thought I would. The later seasons, not as much. I'll be honest with you. And then Luke Cage and Iron Fist, I never really got into. So they announced, obviously, and they did show a trailer at New York Comic Con. They have some of the details here. They showed, Karen and Matt kissing and dancing, so it looks like they're gonna get back together. Thank God. Did not like Matt's love interest in season 1. I don't even remember her name, to be honest. That was really the biggest problem with Born Again season 1, was like all the side characters they introduced in that show were all significantly worse than what we got in that original Netflix run. I mean, it's just what it was. And so for me, I was not a fan of a lot of those characters. So I'm glad we're kind of going back to, what works, what the Netflix, everything that works there. Jessica Jones and Foggy appeared in the trailer. Honestly, the comments from the actor who plays Foggy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, about what his appearance is here. Like, if I'm wrong, I think he just flat out denied he's in it, which, like, we've known for months he's in this season. So don't know why you would lie about something like that. That makes me think that you're alive. You're coming back fully into the series. Just because of how weird that is. Because if you're only coming back as a flashback or like visions for Matt, why lie about it when it's like been actually announced? I've kind of seen some of the leaked trailer too of it, where you got some images of Fisk acting a little weird. Obviously Wilson Fisk in this series, Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, one of the best casted villains in all comic book mediums. So I'm very excited. I definitely think that this is going to be some top tier quality back from Marvel, and I do believe that if we can get back to the level that the Netflix series was, I think we're in for something great here. I think we are, and I want to tie that into this other tweet about where was that? About Spider-Man Brand New Day. It was kind of funny because I had talked about it on Monday, where essentially Charlie Cox was on stage. I think he was being interviewed by Brandon Davis, and he had said that, he was like, "Oh, and you're in the Spider-Man trailer." And Charlie Cox was like, "What? What are you talking about?" Kind of giving away, at least to me, he gave it away a little bit, that he's going to be in Brand New Day. And yeah, so they said, Daredevil Born Again Season 2 and Spider-Man Brand New Day are connected. We don't want to spoil anything, but it very much exists in the same world, and it's important. I mean, yeah, I kind of figured this was going to happen. I would be very shocked if Charlie Cox is not in Spider-Man Brand New Day, and that these storylines are not intertwining with each other. Like, you cannot have Fisk taking over New York City and Spider-Man not saying anything. I mean, that was the whole meme thing at the end of Born Again Season 1, was like, where the hell is Spider-Man in all this? Like, there's so much going on right now in New York, and he's just twiddling his thumbs over at whatever college it is that they go to. So, yeah, for me, we got to connect. That's just what's got to happen here, and everything. How's it going, Darren? I know you might not be in here now, but thank you for stopping in, saying what's up. Yeah, I'm not trying to compete with Council. I'm trying to hurry up here just so that way I can not be competing with you guys. I don't want to step on toes like that, but, circumstances called for it to be up today. So yeah, we'll go back here. We're going to talk about, the other big one was Vision Quest, which, had a lot of big announcements. I saved a couple of tweets for that one, but I think the main one here is what we want to talk about. So first details were revealed for Vision Quest. There is still no release dates on Vision Quest yet. They have not given that out. We don't know when it's coming out. It's going to be sometimes in 2026. I would have to imagine it's probably going to be towards the end of the year before Doomsday. That'd be my guess. So the first details were revealed. White Vision has all the memories of the original Vision, but struggles to connect with the emotions. Okay, which, I mean, that, kind of could have predicted with how they ended WandaVision. And then Ultron, Friday, Edith, Dumb E, and Jarvis all appear and have human forms. That is the detail of all this that I am very much not worried about, but I'm very much like, what does that mean? Like, what is this going to be if they're all going to appear? Because these are all obviously like AIs and help systems and stuff like that. So if they're all going to appear and they're going to be in human form, what exactly are we doing here? Like, what is this story going to be? Now, they also did come out and say, essentially, that this is like the conclusion of the WandaVision trilogy, where it's going to be like WandaVision, Agatha, and then Vision Quest is all going to be just like one story that they're telling here, which I thought that was a very, very weird way to frame that. I'll be honest with you, I haven't finished Agatha. Not my thing. Some of this MCU fatigue for me definitely hit with those TV shows. There are a bunch of them I have not watched. Truthfully, I'm gonna hit some of those animated ones that I missed because I know like X-Men '97. Still haven't seen that one, and I've been like viscerally attacked by all my friends and all the console guys. We're like, "Yo, you definitely need to watch that." Sorry. So I'm definitely gonna watch those, but Agatha is one that like I watched like the first 2 episodes and I'm like, man, this show's not for me. This is not what I want to do. So I really don't want to watch it. But you know, maybe if this is good enough, we can make it happen or something. James the Arcee will return as Jarvis in the human form. Obviously, we said that there. So it is the one who played in Agent Carter, and he was in Avengers Endgame as well. Talking to Howard. So that was really cool. And then my, biggest news out of that, Ultron, James Spader is back. It's official. He will play the human form Ultron also, which I love because James Spader is amazing. And I was, very upset with how he was handled in the Age of Ultron. I mean, he gave us a movie called Age of Ultron, and it was really more like 2 hours of Ultron, which I was disappointed by because I felt like he was such a great villain. He just wasn't in the best movie. So I'm very excited to see what they do there. I'm very excited for Ultron to be back. And just to kind of see what they're going to do with this. These details coming out have piqued my interest on watching this. I would have probably told you like 6 months ago that this is probably no shot that I was going to watch this, but what they've revealed, I'm all for it. I think it can be really good. So I'm very excited for that. So we're gonna kind of move on, but stay on like MCU topic as well. They did release a trailer for Wonder Man, which I haven't watched. I did watch the little like minute teaser that they showed. So I am going to pull that up and we're gonna watch it. And I'm going to talk about it. Wonder Man was supposed to come out this year. I know they ended up changing and delaying it, so now it is going to come out in 2026. Man, what a stacked year for 2026 Marvel is going to have. Really on the TV side more so. Not as bad on the movie side because I think we're only getting Brand New Day. At least right now, we're only getting Brand New Day and Brand New. Jesus Christ! Keep doing this. Sorry, guys. We're only getting Brand New Day and Doomsday, so there is that. So we're gonna go ahead and watch this trailer. I'm gonna see what I think about it, and we're gonna go from there. So let's buckle up and watch the trailer, guys.
The entertainment world is stunned today when internationally celebrated and reclusive filmmaker Von Kovac sprung out of retirement to sign on for a remake of Wonder Man. Mr. Von Kovac, could you tell us more?
Everyone is tired of superheroes. There is an opportunity to
Is that the guy who played the world leader in
reimagine a
Superman?
whole genre of storytelling.
Have you thought about casting?
So, what's this big audition you were talking about?
It's a huge opportunity. I'm auditioning for Wonder Man.
Did you hear about Wonder Man? I need to be in this movie.
Sorry, you crazy.
I was born to play this character.
Are you serious? Boo, they are already talking to Leo.
This is meta.
You just gotta go out there and crush it.
What's wrong?
I'm trying to come up with a backstory for the character.
Well, trust the words. Just show up and say them.
That's not my process.
Well, your process can go blow a spider.
Guy's killing it in there, bro.
Where have I seen him before?
Pretty sure he used to be a terrorist.
You can slate whenever you're ready.
Simon Williams, reading for Wonder Man.
Listen to me, Simon. The Go method.
Come in. Mr. Kovac will meet you in the living room.
So you all here to meet Von Kovac?
Mm-hmm. Hello, everyone. I want to
That's definitely the guy from
explore
Superman.
the place between fiction and non-fiction.
That's tight.
We are going to make the last movie on Earth. No one will have the balls to make another. And action!
Any news from Von Kovac?
There is news you'll be the first to know, unless you call me again, in which case I will never tell you.
8 episodes. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I don't know. The meta stuff is a little weird to me. I don't know where that's going to be going and how that's kind of going to play into like the superhero stuff. But no, yeah, that wasn't terrible. That wasn't terrible. I didn't mind it. I can't remember his name. Yeah, guy who played Candyman. He's a good actor. I liked Ben Kingsley, Trevor Slattery, him back. This seems like more of a fitting role for him and a fitting series and story to tell with him. So, yeah, that doesn't look bad. I don't know how I feel about it. It's a weird series in my opinion. It wasn't one that I was overtly excited about, but we'll see how it goes. And that is now coming out on January 27th, which it wasn't supposed to before. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it. It looks okay. I'm not over the moon about it, but we'll see. All right, so we are going to move on here, and I'm going to get a backdrop going for this. So the other big news that was not obviously MCU related at New York Comic Con was about Invincible. That was a big announcement. They kind of gave us some casting news, a release date, kind of a little bit of a preview. I'm not going to play it here just because I don't think it was really much. It was more like a behind-the-scenes style thing. Biggest news, though, we'll start off right off rip here. Lee Pace has been cast as Thrag in season 4. This was a big thing. I know, people were kind of waiting to see who they were going to cast as Thrag. We had Conquest last season as Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Conquest, and he was great. I thought he did fantastic in the role. Thrag. I haven't read the book, so I'm not familiar with where it goes, but I do know and have been told by people who have, he is a very prominent player moving forward. So it was important to get somebody who we think is going to do a good job. I know people give Lee Pace some shit. He was Ronin, which obviously wasn't great. But the voice acting of this show so far has been incredible. So I don't really think that he is going to give a bad performance. I think if they casted him, they did it for a reason. They think he's going to be good, and it's going to work. So I'm excited. I'm just glad we're getting some movement. It's coming out in March 2026, only a year. I think these studios are finally starting to listen to us when we say that we want yearly television again. Invincible obviously had issues, of when it came out and everything. It was still in the COVID era. So, those first couple seasons took some time in between. But I think we're at a healthy place right now where they can start to release more seasons more consistently. And I'm all for it. I absolutely loved season 3 of Invincible. Particularly like that final stretch was so good. Everyone involved, the voice acting, the fights, the stakes. And I know this is a pretty faithful adaptation to the comic books. So, I'm not going to sit here and say that, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's like a wholly original story or anything like that. I have heard a couple different times that, they're going to adopt a new storyline here, like where it was supposed to go after the Conquest battle. They're kind of going to sandwich a story in between so that way they can push it a little bit. So hopefully we can get, I would like to see that, a combination of like adapting what came in the books versus some original stuff. I would love to see that. So yeah, very excited. I love Invincible. I think it's great. Robert Kirkman also came out and said that season 4 is going to be bigger and scarier and more intense. He's like, we've got to top that conquest fight somehow, so get ready for season 4. Those are some high expectations. That conquest fight was edge of my seat stuff. Like I said, those last 5 episodes, I didn't watch it week to week this season, and those last 5 episodes, I binged them in one day. I was like, dude, this is enthralling. This is incredible, because it had the whole arc with can't remember his name, but the guy Aaron Paul voiced his arc. That was all great. So I'm looking forward very much so for this show to come back, and I like the announcements that we got here. I like that little behind the scenes video that they released. It was all good, and I think Lee Pace will be good in the role of Thrag, unless I see something or hear, right? Because it's obviously mostly voice acting. If I hear something I don't like, obviously I'll be vocal then. But for now, I'm saying, you know what? I trust these people. I trust the creatives involved with this show. And I think whoever it is going to do a good job. And if they think it's Lee Pace, I'm on board. Let's do it. Okay, so let's move on. Just wanted to touch upon that really quick. So Stranger Things Season 5 has gotten a whole bunch of updates. The first being runtimes on the show. So let's pull this up so we'll kind of talk about this. These are a lot of the key details, and then we'll go over the runtimes here. The series finale is going to run around 2 hours, which makes sense. They like to leave, like they did with season 4, they kind of left the finale as like a movie, right? They like to do that. This is the interesting one. A time jump of 18 months from the season 4 finale. I feel like they had to do that because these kids all look like they're 35 years old. And I love the show, but it's just taking way too long to get here. No theatrical plans for the series finale episodes. I can give or take that. I know they did like a season 4 thing. I know Sean Taylor talks about. He's obviously the big YouTuber. I know he did like a couple events where they screened some of the episodes on the big screen. I would love to watch this series on the big screen. That would be like a fun experience, with other Stranger Things fans. And obviously, like the way that this show is shot and done, it's very cinematic and very. Yeah, it's like I could see it playing well on the big screen. But obviously, Netflix is the one footing that bill and paying all that money. So they're going to get first dibs. I wouldn't be surprised if, like how they did with season 4, a couple months down the line, they do like a limited theatrical release where you can watch a couple episodes on the big screen. I'd probably go do it for that. I think that would be fun. Now that I've been doing a little more re-releases and going and seeing re-releases, I think that would be a little bit fun. The spin-off status, I guess there's plan to live in a different world with connective tissue to the original. Duffers will be heavily creatively involved, but not as showrunners. Timing is not set on that. Budget not confirmed, although spend matches the vision, which means the budget is crazy. Crazy as shit is what that basically is saying, is that it's fucking out of control because Netflix does that. And honestly, this show's worth it. This show genuinely, I got an invisible tab on here. This show genuinely gets the hype. Like, there's no way they don't make buku amount of money from Stranger Things. I mean, everywhere. It's got to be. Duffers say the story is complete this season. Demigorgons, Mind Flayer, Vecna, Hawkins, all closed out. There are 21 series regulars in season 5. Holy shit. 21 series regulars? That's insane. It's insane. I'm glad, though, that they're coming out and saying, like, no, like, this story, it's definitively gone. Which is kind of crazy because I always assumed with Stranger Things that they were for sure going to do the Legacy sequel thing like 20 years from now. For sure. Like, I thought that was like a given. So, as of right now, they're saying no. That's not going to happen. This is it. They studied finales like 6 Feet Under, Friday Night Lights, The Sopranos to stick the landing. Table read got the cast crying. I will say, that is the one thing I have heard the entire cast of Stranger Things talk about. All of them have all said that the finale and the ending is good. And the Duffer Brothers, I think, too, in here, I didn't see it on, it's not on this post, but I did see them talk about how they had the finale planned for years now. And I like that. That means that they had a vision. It's cohesive. It's not going to be all over the place. It seems like they know what they're doing here. So I like that. I think that's good. I'm excited. Look, I'm excited we're finally getting it. I am someone who's definitely had complaints about how long that this series has taken to drop seasons, and these kids are just getting older and older and older as it goes along. But man, I can't lie to you. Season 4 was freaking incredible. I loved season 4. I loved Vecna. I loved how that went. I had a thing. I think I'm going to start rewatching the series in like a little bit over a week. I think it was the 23rd because I saw that little viral video that was going around when this got announced, when it was coming out and everything, that if you watch like an episode a day starting on this day, it leads right in. Me and my wife plan on doing that. So, I think it's going to be fun to rewatch the series because I'll be honest, like I remember season 4, obviously, because that was the last season. I remember that the most. I don't really remember a lot of season 1 through 3. I remember like the general plots, right, and everything, but I don't remember like specifics. So I think it'll be good to kind of go back and rewatch everything leading into the final season. And, getting that final season right around the holidays, I think, it's going to be fun. I think, them splitting it up, I know it's not week to week, but at least they're splitting it up. I think that's going to create the buzz, create the conversation. They did it with season 4. They split it in half. And I feel like that did help. It kept it going. It kept it in our minds, whereas those first 3 seasons and really a lot of the shows with Netflix tend to kind of just fade away and not give us what we want. So, yeah. So, I'm excited. I hear all this news. I'm very happy that we're finally getting some traction when it comes to Stranger Things. I really am looking forward to this final season. Okay, so we're going to move on. Another trailer reaction. I'm doing a bunch today. There's a bunch that came out in the last week. So we're gonna watch. We talked last week about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the trailer. I'm sorry, not the trailer. I'm not familiar with this story that it's adapting. I think it was the Hedge Knight or whatever it was called. I don't really know much about it. Ronell was supposed to be on here today. He could have talked in a little bit more about it, but I'm not too familiar with it. So we're going to watch the trailer here, and I will kind of give my reaction, and we'll go from there and see what I think about it. All right, let's do this.
I was squire to Sir Arlen of Pennytree since I was a boy.
100 years.
He charged me to be a good knight, to defend the weak and the innocent, and I swore that I would.
Are you Baelor Targaryen?
Baelor? Okay.
No.
Oh, no.
Then would you move the fuck out of the way?
Yeah. Sorry.
That was a good one.
What's your name?
Sir Duncan the Tall.
Never heard of him.
Do you know every knight in the Seven Kingdoms, then?
The good ones. If you could bring me to Ashford, I could squire for you, sir.
Rob me, and I'll hunt you down with dogs.
You don't have dogs!
I'll get some.
Where?
Oh!
Boy, stop gaping. She's my horse.
I'm not a stable boy, my lord.
Not clever enough.
I know I'm just a hedge knight, but sometimes I think there could be more.
Is that a dragon?
Why do you treat these royal lapdogs like they're your betters?
They are my betters. These men have a name. I'm training. What chance do I have?
I have no chance.
Falling star brings luck to those who see it.
So the luck is ours alone? I need to fight honorably. But sometimes I think I buried my courage alongside the old man.
And in every man, there are many men. So be brave. Be just.
That was a dragon. What the hell?
Be tall.
All right, that looks like it could be a lot of fun. It looks like it is a more like upbeat and you know what I mean, like more upbeat, right? Happier vibe, not as dark and not as dark as like House of the Dragon is, and how the ending of Game of Thrones was. It seems like it's a little bit more upbeat and more levity to the story. So yeah, that looks fun. I think I like this era of Game of Thrones that we're in, where they're kind of not trying to overdo it with one show. They're trying to kind of, you know, I don't know, kind of tell these other stories, right? And not only do a couple seasons each and tell these kind of like side stories. This is a universe that just has so much lore to it. You could tell so much. There's so many stories out there that you could do. You know, we're never probably getting those last couple Game of Thrones books from George R.R. Martin, but if we keep getting these stories that he's already written and getting them told this way, I'm all for it. I think it could be fun. And, you know, we can see how it goes. I mean, obviously, this is going to probably feel a lot more separate from the main run. Like I feel like House of the Dragon feels very connected to that original run of Game of Thrones. Whereas this kind of feels like its own thing. And I really like that. And like I said, it feels more upbeat. It feels like there's a little more levity to it than maybe House of the Dragon or the original run had. So yeah, not a lot of thoughts on it. Looks good. Definitely want to see it. A couple months away, only in January, so we got about 3 months. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, for sure. All right, let's go to our last topic. Welcome to Derry. Look ahead. This show, I think it said it premieres on the 26th, which is not this upcoming Sunday, but next Sunday. So we are very, very close. I know they released like a first look at Pennywise, and I don't know like what they're going to do with Pennywise here. I don't know how prominent he's going to be. I feel like if they got Bill Skarsgård and they paid a lot of money, they probably paid a lot of money for him. You know, he's very iconic role. This was like a first look that they did. I think it's going to be in this trailer here. We're going to watch in a second. But Bill Skarsgård is as Pennywise. I'll go on record. I don't think I've ever talked publicly about how I feel about it. These movies in particular, and then the franchise as a whole. You know, I grew up on the Tim Curry 1990 TV miniseries. And as a kid, that movie terrified me. The first time I saw the 2017, though, I just knew that this is the definitive version of the character and of the story. It really was. I didn't think anyone could be more iconic in the role than Tim Curry, and Bill Skarsgård just went and killed it. He added such a viciousness and a terrifiedness to him that I just don't think Tim Curry was able to portray. And a lot of that obviously had to do with, you know, visual effects, which I feel like the visual effects were kind of wonky, obviously, in that 2017 film. But I do feel like what that movie added did so much well and was so good. And the characters, like I liked the young group of characters. I still think Chapter 2 wasn't as good as 1, but I still enjoyed both. I'm actually more of, like, I'm not as much of a hater on Chapter 2 as most people are. And I feel like the cast all around was so good. So this show, I haven't watched any trailers or anything, so I'm going to watch this one here in a minute. I haven't watched any trailers or anything for this show, but I just like the concept of going back in time and learning more about Pennywise, specifically with Bill Skarsgård, and seeing how it plays out. I think this takes place in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. So to kind of see that version of Pennywise in that time period, because I think in the original Tim Curry one, it was this time period for him the first time, and then it was the 80s that was the later one, whereas it was flipped, or it was pushed back, I think, 30 years, or 27, where it was in the 80s, and then the second one was at modern times. So I'm very curious to see, you know, how this plays out and what this series can provide. I just hope they're not leaning very heavily on Bill Skarsgård in the marketing, and then he ends up not actually being all that much in the series. So I'm hoping that's not the case. So yeah, real quick, I am going to play this like minute and a half trailer that they released. And we'll talk about what I thought about it, and that'll pretty much be it for today. We'll go from there.
Holy smokes! No way! I love these!
Beautiful cinematography here. Uh-oh.
All of the tunnels are underground,
Not liking that.
where none of the children will ever be found.
Are they singing this?
They wandered away to join the show and lost their way in the world below.
No way, dude.
Fear. It settles on every living person it touches.
Harry Morgan! What?
They joined the circus and left their town.
No way.
Now they live here down with the clown. 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 Down with the
That looks fucking amazing. Holy shit. I haven't seen anything for this. I haven't watched any of the trailers for this at all. That looks incredible. Shout out Harry Morgan, James Remar. Glad you're in there. That looks great. That looks really, really good. I wonder. So I'm assuming there's going to be multiple monsters, or unless Pennywise is just taking different forms. That's probably how they're going to get around having Bill Skarsgård in every episode, is by having him shapeshift. Obviously, I don't feel like they did that enough in the movies. That's the only thing, right? But man, wow, that was good. That was really good. I liked it. It looked beautiful. That sound, that song they're singing is creepy as shit. I'll just be honest. I got my heart racing a little bit. So yeah, man, that really jumped my excitement up pretty high right there. Just watching that. I'm probably gonna watch that again once I end the stream. That was really good. And yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be one that I'm definitely going to be watching every Sunday. The fact that HBO is producing it and putting it on HBO Max, that makes me feel really good. Because HBO very rarely misses. I mean, I don't love everything they do, but they got a pretty good track record. And yeah, wow, man, I enjoyed that more than I thought I would. That was a very effective, quick 90-second trailer that I think worked really well. So yeah, so definitely looking forward to that. That is next weekend that we start there. So that is going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you for anyone who popped in and watched here. My 10th episode of the Scene and Screen podcast. Very excited to keep doing these. I love coming on here and talking all the news, reviewing movies. It's very enjoyable for me, very fun. So if you like this, just go ahead. Hit that subscribe button. I'm on YouTube. I'm AG Reviews on TikTok, AG Reviews on X. Those are my three main that I use. So I'll keep doing this. I'll be posting clips from the show and everything like that. I'll go back to Tuesday next week. Like I said, I only really did Wednesday this week because I got a chance to go see Black Phone 2. So yeah, that is all from me, guys. I am going to go ahead and get wrapped up here. Great show. Thank you for anyone who watched, and I will see you next week. Hopefully we have a guest next week. And yeah, everyone, have a great night.